All right, everyone. The main news of the day is Ralph Northam and the Virginia Democrats really shitting bricks at the moment. It's no small wonder why this would be the story of the day. It's like, oh, Groundhog Day. Okay, we're gonna have winter anyway because it's Vermont. I don't really care. And some of you never have winter, like you're in Florida or something, Southern California. You think it snowed? Oh my God, it's Armageddon. Remember Snowmageddon in Georgia? We got to talk about Ralph Northam though, because the poor dude is like so fucked. He's got large swaths of his own party throwing him under the bus, and really they should. Like as soon as the news came out, and I'll tell you the basic story for the 10 people that don't know. Basically, he yearbook photos from back in the 1980s from when he was in medical school emerged, in which he appears to be in blackface alongside a person. This is what really knocks it out of the park. His friend at this, I guess, drunken frat party is wearing a Ku Klux Klan robe. Now, can I ask one question? I don't think I've seen anyone else ask this. Are we sure that the Klan outfit is a costume and not actually a Klan member? Has anyone bothered to actually ask that question? Like, maybe this is a picture from a Klan function. You do realize that they do have get-togethers back in the 80s, certainly. There were more members, especially in a place like Virginia. How do we know that Northam wasn't associating with them directly at the time? I think he's the one in blackface. I don't know if he's confirmed that, but I mean, Northam, it was confirmed by other people like Tim Pool and others, that Northam is 6 feet tall and the person in blackface is a good 5 inches taller. It would be very, very odd if Northam had a friend in blackface that was like nearly 6'6". I don't think so, since I don't think he hangs around with too many basketball players, if you know what I'm saying. But I mean, think of it this way. If this were a Republican governor, he already would have resigned. Like, it would have been totally unsurvivable. Instead, you have some of his Virginia Democrat friends are still circling the wagons. Like on a national level, like Kamala Harris, who actually endorsed and praised him, appears to really like the dude, said no, he needs to go. Gillibrand early and often saying he needs to go. She pulled an Al Franken. Trust me, she'll get flack for it. The Democrats will so if Northam doesn't resign, they'll say, okay, well, we got to deal with it, which means we have to support the dude. We'll use our lawyer words to figure out reasons why he shouldn't go. But I mean, if this were anyone else, it's like people on YouTube and shit are deplatformed for far less. They don't have to represent, like, at the state level, a group of people. They don't have any judicial power, executive power, or legislative power. They're not paid by taxpayers. They make one off-color joke, excuse the pun maybe there, and they get kicked off the whole internet. Ralph Northam, meanwhile, does this, and it's been made clear by, like, all of these websites. Yeah, it could be something from the past. Somebody digs up shit on you from 10 years ago, yeah, we'll deplatform you anyway, says Twitter or Patreon. Look at their reason for getting rid of Milo. So I'm thinking, is Ralph Northam, are all of his accounts going to get scrubbed from the internet? Is he going to get kicked off for being a virulent bigot by the standards of his own political party that unleashed this can of worms of corporate fascistic censorship? And by the way, Northam just got screwed a few days ago for his abortion comments, which amounted to infanticide light, essentially. Like, oh yeah, we've delivered the 40-week-old, slightly deformed, potato child, and so now we're just going to let it sort of sit there and die comfortably. And it's like crazy shit. I can't imagine, like, what did his approval start at? Like, a week ago, what was the last approval poll? I don't know, because I haven't kept up with state-level politics all that much. For a while now. I should probably get into that for some of these critical swing states. What were his approval numbers? That had to be decent, like 40s or 50s or something. Governors tend to have higher approval than executives at the national level because, of course, it's a smaller group of people. It's more easy to sort of focus in and key in on the issues to play to the crowd, so to speak. It'll be sub-Macron levels after this. Like every minority in the voter in the state is going to say, fuck him. He was in blackface. Not even just blackface, he was in a minstrel costume. Now, I understand some people are saying, well, don't dogpile the dude, don't do the left-wing thing, which is getting all enraged. I'm not enraged at all. I don't care that Northam wore this costume. It doesn't offend me. I don't have a problem with people wearing minstrel costumes. It's not, like, amusing or entertaining, but I don't really see the huge problem. No, I do not think that it is equivalent to lynching people or whatever the Democrats think up tomorrow. However, Ralph Northam, leftist Democrat, he made campaign ads which insinuated that his opponent was a racist. There were people at the time backing him. There was one tweet there that didn't age well where the person, I can't remember which poster was, is like, well, this is simple for the people of Virginia. Ed Gillespie is a racist. Ralph Northam is not a racist. So, the issue is fairly clear. And then, Ed Gillespie never, as far as I know, was at a Klan rally. And again, how do we know that this wasn't an actual Klan member that Northam was standing with? It's not entirely clear. It wasn't necessarily some frat boy. It could have been an actual Klan member. I mean, they make their own robes and shit. Like, they had that documentary where they talked about that. And actually, introductory course on the Klan would be listening to the Daniel Carver shit on the Stern Show, which is pretty funny. Spoiler alert, there's lots of racial humor there, so, trigger warning, I suppose. For those of you who are very sensitive about, stuff from the 90s. My God. So Northam pushes the blatantly unconstitutional DOA gun control bill. That doesn't stop him. Then he makes comments that amount to supporting infanticide. That doesn't stop him. Now he's in blackface. There are still some Democrats who think that he's viable enough to support. Look, he can't even run for that position again, even if he wants to. In the state of Virginia, you can't have consecutive gubernatorial terms. Why in the fuck would you back him? No, these people need to go up to him and say, can you please resign? Here's your golden parachute. We'll make sure that you get your back pay, and you can go be mayor of the Klan town or something like that, because this will probably endear you to those voters. Why, you just go and become the Kliegel or something like that? I'm thinking, and one of the jokes, I have to say this one I outdid myself. I was like, oh, he just unveiled his unemployment plan. He's going to plant 100,000 acres of cotton and let the rest sort itself out. And the problem is, people don't even realize how closely him being in like blackface would associate with traditional Southern Democrat tendencies, even unto and including the gun control and his support for extreme abortion stuff. Now again, I'm pro-choice, but one thing that the anti-choicers have said, which is actually true, is that abortion in the United States was championed by eugenicists. The idea was they wanted the poor and minorities to get abortions because they wanted to have the white, middle, and upper classes breed more. They wanted to incentivize them to supply, the whole population. They believed that if a person was poor, that was usually the result of their genetics, like it was due to some inherent laziness or criminal tendencies. This was the going thing at the time that a lot of people believed in. So they thought, if we just enable people to, not have their pregnancies, if they're poor, we'll encourage them. A lot of the early abortion clinics were indeed placed in minority areas. If we just do that, then we will slowly, we'll weed out the dross of our society. Now again, that doesn't mean that pro-choicers tend to be eugenicists now. Abortion can be very helpful. I believe it should be legal. But his comments amount to infanticide, a little bit different now when you really think about it. Then, we've got gun control. As I pointed out multiple times, gun control in the U.S. did not exist until the 1870s with the Cruikshank decision, championed by, again, Southern Democrats, pioneered by the Ku Klux Klan itself. The idea was to disarm recently freed black slaves. They were like, oh shit, now that they're citizens, they can own guns, but, we'll just make sure that the courts interpret it as, hey, no, you don't have a right to own a gun, you have a privilege to own a gun. This talks about the militia. If you're allowed private weapons, it's because the government says you can. The Democratic talking points on guns haven't changed since the 1870s. They make the same arguments. Their arguments about abortion are fundamentally the same at this point, although, again, I'm pro-choice, but not for the same reasons as, people back in the day, maybe Sanger herself. And then you've got him, dressing up as a minstrel or something like that. It's not even just blackface. It's a full costume. It's like, he's not, as far as I know, of Dutch extraction, so he's not like doing I can't even remember what their tradition is called over there, and it's a little bit different. Or don't they have a black Santa Claus counterpart as well there? It's like, semi-racial or something. What culture is that? Somebody will have to tell me in the comments. I think I read something about that, but if Northam doesn't resign, he should be removed from office by the legislature there. The Republicans control the House and Senate and put pressure on the Democrats. And some people, this was really funny, Holt alluded to this. They invoke Brett Kavanaugh, of all things, to say, oh, well, it's not really that bad. Brett Kavanaugh never got held to account. Dude, with Brett Kavanaugh, you don't have a photo of him raping people. Okay, you have an allegation with no proof behind it whatsoever, uncorroborated at every possible step, and a witch hunt ensues. And you investigated for weeks and weeks. But no credible journalistic outlet apparently bothered to notice Brett Kavanaugh's yearbook. Now, somebody expressed a theory on 4chan the other night that I happen to totally agree with. They said, look, here's the likelihood. The reason why this didn't come out sooner is because the number of people in a medical school, they're going to be doctors or whatever, they're getting a higher level degree, tends to be very small. The number of people with access to his yearbook, therefore, was fundamentally small. You've got this dude, he's fairly well known, he's fairly popular. Thus, none of the people around him wanted to screw him. They supported him as governor, or at least they tolerated him, and they're like, well, I don't want to start shit with, my governor or whatever like that. I agree with that. And then the idea is that, then he makes his infanticide comments, and that one of these people or more just happens to be, like, really religious. And they're like, oh, shit, our governor's the Antichrist, and then they, sort of dump this to the media. I think that probably happened. I really do believe that that's probably true. It's funny that it wouldn't have happened with the gun control comments. So, people more religious, they tend to be more pro-gun. They should have, really, if you have dirt on some high-level political figure, it'd be funny if you were sitting on it. It's like, how many celebrities have, like, sex tapes and shit, and the other person's like, well, whatever, I'm just gonna beat off to it forever, or something like that. It's really rather funny. And seeing Kamala Harris, throw him under the bus after giving him her original glowing endorsement. And then there was the picture on Twitter that the governor's office had posted, like, mid last year, where they're meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus, and Northam's there smiling and cheering. And there's that campaign picture where he's surrounded by all of the, like, the minority kids at some, inner city school. And I'm thinking to myself, how fucking funny is that? How fucking ironic. And that always happens. When a politician runs on the racism campaign, you can be assured that they're the real bigot. Gillespie, meanwhile, he doesn't talk about the issue because he doesn't think about race too much. He's not obsessed with the issue. All of these social justice warriors that harangue about it, they come from lily-white gated communities where they have more Starbucks and libraries than anything else. And what do you think they joke about when they get a few drinks in them? Yeah, I wonder what those jokes are fucking like. And so Northam should resign. There are petitions circulating. He should be gone. Like, the Democrats are nuts. They're going to lose Virginia in 2020 if they don't kick Northam out. Even then they're a hazard, but the lieutenant governor happens to be a far-left black Democrat. That's going to be a little bit easier on them. The transition will be smoother. If Northam lodges in there like a cancer or a parasite, they'll lose Virginia in 2020. You can say Trump 2020 is considerably more likely. This could swing the 2020 election. That's the funniest part about it. No wonder all of the presidential candidates are having a breakdown saying, no, I don't want anything to do with Northam. He's a reprehensible asshat. It's like, yeah, so how is he going to govern? His approval will tank by double digits easily. Especially in the wake of the abortion comments, probably would have tanked somewhat anyway among some of the more religious Democratic voting blocs, Catholic voters and stuff. So he ends up at like 20-25% approval. All of his political allies drop him like a hot potato. How does he govern? And how does he, by the way, because you don't have consecutive terms, how does he seek some other office? Democrats are nuts. There's still some supporting him. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be fucking totally crazy. You're going to get kicked out of your jobs. That's about all. Peace out.